Hello everybody and welcome back to KSP2, where we are currently cruising along with another test here. Now, I've added an additional shell of heat shields, not because I think it's actually necessary, but because my theory on why we're losing attitude is weight distribution related. I've also added, it's very difficult to see here, and at this frame rate I can't really pan the camera around, but I've added somewhere around here, yeah, I've added a bunch of grid fins, which will hopefully give us attitude control. I've also increased our number of reaction wheels by double in an attempt to move our center of mass a bit further towards the heat shields and to give us some counteracting force. Now, my best attempt right now has gotten us down to about 2750 before we lost attitude, and this is taking far longer than expected. So unfortunately, I'm running out of time to do attempts today. So hopefully this works, because if it doesn't, I'm not going to have a huge amount of time to scrap this episode and try again. However, if this doesn't work, my next theory is that it's related to the fact that these heat shields are not in uniform position in the forward-backward vector. So I would probably add additional heat shields here in the center and over here to even all of this out, and then just tweak their positions a little bit and see what that does, would be the next step here. We're incredibly close to getting this slow enough to survive a tumble. So if it survives a tumble, then I don't mind. As long as we get it down below... And it was decelerating very, very quickly. I want to be clear about that. By the time we get to 2750, it's decelerating so fast. So if we get to the point where we can hold that attitude at 2750 for probably somewhere around 20 to 30 seconds, I think we'll be safe. We're incredibly close to getting this ready, but I'm running out of time for today. This is probably my 5th or 6th attempt at this, and each one takes a solid 40 minutes in real time to just run the simulation because the performance is so bad. I mean, that's just a KSP2 thing, right? You can see from here the frame rate we're getting. This is not my PC, by the way. This is just KSP. My PC is currently running at, let me check Task Manager here, currently running at a cool 6% CPU and a cool 2% GPU. So this is just a KSP2 thing. This is not a hardware thing. Flight control's now in docking mode? What? You know what? I know why that is. It's because of delete. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to throttle down, which went up as I was Control-Alt-Deleting. That is fine. Okay, so this is absolutely A-okay here. We're going to be cruising along like this for a little bit. Now, another thing that I did do is I added additional struts connecting every one of these heat shield pylons. Oh, that is so little frame rate. Okay. Yeah, every single one of these heat shield pylons here, I connected their adjacent ones, not diagonal, but their adjacent pylons with struts. So I was seeing a little bit of crackening as we were getting down into the deeper atmosphere, and I figured we were probably overwhelming the struts that we had there. So that's basically what we've done as of right now. I'm going to pull this out of 4x, and at the higher frame rate, it's not high, but at the higher frame rate that we're going to get at 1x, we can then bring this around to a somewhat more useful orientation where we can kind of see what's going on. There we go. Now it's a little bit more controllable, and we can bring up our speed again. Cool. We're just going to continue to plow through this atmosphere here for a while. We'll see if we lose attitude again. I've doubled the amount of grid fins since the time we lost attitude at 2750, but it was a huge amount of pitch force that we ran into just very abruptly at 2750. So we'll see if we do a similar thing here. Now, we're going to be going maybe a little faster when we hit that level of force, but I'm hoping that the mass adjustments will help counteract that. My theory is that that happens because we lose just a little bit too much mass at the back, and we end up having our mass too far forward over here, and that causes us to flip around. That's a working theory, and that's why I added another shell of heat shields, to hopefully help prevent that. And the extra mass from the grid fins is minimal, but hopefully the control surface will help a little bit. We'll see. I'm not sure how much those control surfaces are actually having an effect with the heat shields there, But for the time being, it looks reasonably fine. So we're currently at about 81 kilometers here. We know that things start to get interesting around 78 kilometers, so we're going to cruise forward as long as we can. Oh, I don't think I mentioned what the insert trajectory was. I burned us down to 85, and then once we reached 85, I did a retrograde burn that brought down our apoapsis down to approximately like 88, I think it was, 88, 89. It was just barely in the atmosphere. So that is the attitude that we're taking here. The last one that I attempted, I circularized at 88, and that took so long to get down. I'm hoping that this will be fine. It should be a marginal difference in the amount of speed reduction, so we can see that we're moving at 3152.3, and as we get deeper in the atmosphere, that speed reduction will go up a lot higher. The question is, just how much attitude loss are we going to see once we hit that 27.5? I've actually hit it twice, and both times that happened, we saw an intense desire for this thing to pitch. An absolutely intense desire. And both times, I was not in 4x time warp. I want to point out. Both times when we got down to that point, I was in 1x. So we'll probably do the same thing here. Hopefully, the added control authority from the grid fins and the additional mass in the back of the craft, hopefully that will do what we need it to do. We'll see. It's just a very abrupt flip around. This thing really wants to flip to prograde once we lose enough heat shields back here. So 3151 meters per second for now. It's going to be a little bit before anything else super interesting happens here. So I'm going to cut a little bit out of this, and we will be back once we are probably a little bit closer to 3 kilometers per second. Maybe not quite there. Maybe dipping down below like 3100. Even then, we're going to be slowing down pretty slowly. Maybe like 3050. We'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, so here we are about to drop below 3,100 meters per second, and we've about lost the new 6th outer shell here. So that is looking absolutely great. We're holding attitude with no problem whatsoever, and we've got a good amount of electric charge remaining. As long as we don't lose attitude when we go too much further, we'll be okay, I think. Then the question is parachutes. As I said, though, I've spent a very, very long time today working on this, and unfortunately this is going to have to be the last attempt today. It's already getting pretty late, and I've got more episodes to record, unfortunately. So if this one doesn't succeed, this is going to have to go up no matter what. I have scrapped a number of episodes today because it didn't succeed, but running out of time. And there's not much anybody can do about that. We're just going to definitely have to make this one be a thing no matter what. I'm noting our pitch here and our roll, which seems to be getting under control. Okay, so we're losing that center heat shield. That's fully expected. 100%, that was the last outer shell heat shield that is going away. So that should not be a problem. I'm hearing some audio hitches at this point when this is happening. I think we're reaching the limits of KSP2, and it either needs a restart, or there might not be too much more that we can add to this before the game starts becoming unstable. It's going to probably be one of those things. But we're really, really close to getting this ready to go, and I'm very hopeful that this will do it. We appear to have a bit of an oscillation in the roll direction. And I'm going to look to correct that a bit. Okay, those heat events are definitely noted. I'm looking... There we go, that frame rate is spicy. I'm looking to get this roll oscillation corrected. It's definitely making progress. Yeah. That's getting relatively under control at this point. It's not fully under control, but I think it'll be okay. So we'll leave that be for the time being. We can see we're down to 3,090 meters per second. We're going to start to lose speed very rapidly as we get a little lower in this. So that's going to get faster and faster all the time. We're down to about 65 kilometers. I'm not sure what the altitude was when we lost attitude before. I think it was around 50, I want to say. Somewhere around there, which is probably starting to get into this slightly thicker portion here, is my guess. And we definitely want to be going as slow as possible when we do that. No doubt about that. Keep in mind, everything we add to this means that more energy is required to both accelerate it to this point and slow it down when we get here. So that is definitely going to be a thing. So there goes another inflatable heat shield. No shockers there. Actually, it hasn't gone yet. I saw this appear and I was like, oh, there goes a heat shield. No, that's not how that works. One of these two are going to go away, or these two. Very, very soon here. And that should be fine. I'm keeping an eye on our attitude control, and so far, attitude control is absolutely A-okay here. There go those two heat shields on the bottom. The two on the top will follow quite shortly. Also, note that we are indeed in 1x time warp. It's more stable in 1x, and we don't get that much of a speed boost at this point from being in 4x anyway, so it's basically the same, although it's less stable. So we'll sit in 1x for the time being. We're at 3,074.9 at this moment, and there go our two top heat shields. That is expected. Well, one of them anyway. The other will go shortly. There we go. And as these destroy, I would expect the performance to be slowly improving in terms of, like, the game's performance. But maybe not so much in terms of the craft's performance. We'll see. The main problem here, I think, is that the mass is shifting this direction. And once the mass shifts far enough out here, this thing really wants to flip around. So now that we've identified that, we can definitely do something about it. The question is what we've already done about it enough? It might be. Another 2 shells might be needed as well. Who knows? I definitely do want to get these evened out here and then maybe add an additional shell over top of everything else. Might be a good way to go about it. So we are definitely slowing down faster and faster as we get lower. We're at about 63 kilometers right now, traveling at 3,062 meters per second. And that is going to get a lot lower, a lot faster once we get just a little bit lower. It's not even going to be all that much lower. So that is looking good. These heat shields, however, they're not looking so great. They're going to be going away. There goes one of them. And another one will be going shortly, carrying with it truly ludicrous amounts of heat. But overall, I think that this system will work. We just have to find the right balance for it. We're really, really close at this point. We just have to maintain that pitch. We didn't have a yaw issue in the previous tests that I ran, but we did have a pitch issue. So that is definitely something we're going to keep in mind. But I'm hoping that those grid fins will help, and also hoping that just having a little bit more mass out this way will help too. 2,700 meters per second is still fast enough that we're going to burn up if we lose attitude. We need to get that down to, like, a lot slower than that. But the atmosphere is so thick here that if we can just get it somewhat slower, then I think we'll be good. But it's just a matter of finding the balance. I'm quite convinced on that at this point. So we can see here that we're having no attitude control issues as we cross 3,040 meters per second at 61 kilometers above sea level. Losing another heat shield, no shockers there. And checking in on our electric charge, we've still got more than half. I am not concerned in the slightest about our electric charge, even though we don't actually have a source of electric charge on this right now. We just have what we started with. We're going to want a source when we actually send this up, but for the moment, this is a very good sign. So we are crossing down below 3,030 meters per second at this point. As you can see, that deceleration is definitely going up. We're going down at the rate of about 1 meter per second every 2 seconds or so, thereabouts. So about half a meter per second is our current deceleration rate. That is definitely increasing as the atmosphere thickens. There goes another couple of heat shields. I think that's going to be 2 pretty much simultaneously. Yeah, the game is definitely struggling with this, no doubt about it, but it should be okay. Should be A-okay. There goes that other heat shield. We're going to lose 2 more in quick succession here. Okay, those 2 should go away very, very quickly indeed. We're going to be going under 3,000 meters per second very, very shortly here. Keep in mind, this is well under orbital velocity for Eve. Not that that's all that relevant, I suppose, now that I think about it. Of course it is. So we're currently crossing below 3,010 meters per second at this moment. And we're going to be going quite a lot lower here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're below 3,000 meters per second. That is a very good sign. We're currently at about 58 kilometers up. So that speed is going to be decreasing at an ever-growing rate. No doubt about that. We just lost another 10 meters per second since I last mentioned it. And we're going to lose more heat shields, but with that added heat shield in there, that should help matters. The real question is the mass distribution going to be good enough? That I don't know. At a certain point, we can survive a flip around, and then these heat shields will essentially act as very strange parachutes. Which is probably okay at that point. If we do flip around, and we're going slowly enough, we can even consider dropping the heat shields, moving the parachutes up to be, like, up here-ish, and then gliding this plane down. That is a theoretical possibility, if we're going slowly enough. Which is a big if. No doubt about it. We're losing more heat shields here. Eventually that'll get calculated. There we go. Cool. We're now moving at 2960 meters per second. Our deceleration is getting quite rapid. It's now about 1 meter per second, and that's going to get more and more rapid. We've got about 200 meters per second to slow down before we end up besting our current best attempt. And I do believe that we will best it here. The question is, will we survive the descent? We haven't managed that one yet, but we're getting incredibly close. I suspect, as I said, that the problem is mass distribution, and that makes a lot of sense to me, because there's a whole lot of mass back behind this heat shield area. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. It also might be that the wings start generating lift in a weird way and flip us around. I suppose that's theoretically possible. Okay, so we're traveling at about 2,900 meters per second now, and we're losing another shell of heat shields here, which is all fully expected. Goodbye, heat shields. You did your job. Eventually, the game will get caught up. There we go, 2 heat shields. There goes a third. We're going to lose 2 more pretty quickly here. And then we'll have 3 heat shields remaining in our shell. So that is looking good, but look at how quickly we're decelerating now. And that's just going to get faster. Excellent. So we're down to 2880 at this point. Another pair of heat shields are going to be going away here. And this is definitely changing our mass distribution. No doubt about that. But we have a fair amount of grid fins back there that I'm hoping will help us hold attitude. Note how we're off on our yaw and our pitch right now. This thing is trying to flip over. But for the time being, our attitude control systems are able to compensate. But that will, I think, get overwhelmed as the mass distribution here continues to change. It definitely tried to flip there, but we did get it under control. We're down to 2843. We've only got 100 meters per second to go before this becomes our best attempt yet. And let's see how this goes. There goes another heat shield. Yep. We're losing heat shields very rapidly, but we're also losing speed very rapidly. Keep in mind, we can always add more heat shields. That's not a big deal. Cool. So look at that deceleration go. We just need to lose like about a kilometer per second overall. But what we'd really like to see is losing enough speed. Oh, look at this. This looks like this is going to be our pitch issue. Yep, there it goes. I think this might have to do with our lift from our wings, actually. So we're going to start pitching out of control here. This is about the same time we did previously. So it doesn't seem to be related at all to our control authority, nor does it seem to be related to mass, because this is, yeah, 2750 here. And it just pitches around like this. I'm wondering if our pitch on our wings is causing it. The wings are facing backwards, remember. It's an interesting question. Okay, so let's revert this back. This is happening consistently at this altitude, basically no matter what we do at this point. So let's head back to the VAB and let's try a couple of things, but we're not going to have time, unfortunately, to try this another time. I'm going to do another like 5 or 6 tries if I need to beyond this, but not today, unfortunately. I'm not going to have time to do that today. So that'll have to be like a tomorrow thing, unfortunately. So let's bring this back to the VAB, and I have a couple of theories. Theory number 1 is that our wings are facing the wrong way here, right? We're coming in reverse at this point. We could flip that around. The main problem, and the reason why I built it this way, is this nose cone. We have no real way to have this nose cone be here on ascent if we have this apparatus in the front. So instead, what I'm going to try here is I'm going to try turning off the tail here, which is the HPS 1000 progression. Okay. Can we turn off the authority on this? Yes, we can. And I'd like to do the same thing on our wings. We'll have to remember to manually turn those on. So this is the HPW 1000 evolution. We would manually turn these off. I think that the controls on these, because they're facing the other direction, are inverted. And that might be part of what we've got going on, is that the wings start generating so very much lift that this gets extremely powerful and overrides everything that we've got going on here. That is a theory. And then we can bring this guy back. I would really like to be able to zoom. That would be nice, KSP. Okay, I guess this is all we've got. And I would like to move our camera back over here then. And it looks like we're going to need approximately 2 shells here to even this out. Eventually, KSP will get caught up. No, I alt-clicked. There we go. Cool. So something like this. And the purpose behind this is to, A, have more mass in the back, if that's indeed the problem, and B, just even out these shields a little bit. So we're going to do the same thing in this center as soon as the game gets caught up. There we go. And we're going to grab 2 of these here, place them there. Does this need a third? I think that's probably close enough. And then we're going to reattach this guy after the game gets caught up. Those garbage collections are insane. Like, I don't know what the KSP2 devs were doing in terms of their memory allocations, but yikes. That's some huge garbage collection spikes. Okay, we're just going to put those heat shields in there like that, and that makes this wall relatively solid in terms of, like, its position this direction, right? So that is going to theoretically help our aerodynamics in that regard. And then hopefully by not having the authority on our tail and our wings until we lift off, hopefully that will solve that issue. I hope. Now, I want to take a quick peek at what our center of mass is compared to our center of lift. That's reasonable. I feel like if the game would ever get caught up here, there we go. I feel like, yeah, this is quite centered. So I don't think that's a problem there. I think overall, our core issue is simply that flip. So at this point, we should be ready to run another trial of this, but as I said, I simply do not have time to do that again today. I really hope that the next one will be a successful attempt. We are so close here, but we need to correctly identify what that issue with the flip is. I'm really hoping that it's the fact that the wings were inverted and they were generating a crazy amount of lift. I think that might be what we've got going on. We'll see. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.